Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we navigate the messy, beautiful work of healing and growth. I'm your host, Cari, and this is your space to breathe, reflect, and find strength. Whether you're breaking free from old patterns, healing from loss, or rebuilding your story one small step at a time, you're in the right place. So take a deep breath, give yourself this time, and let's uncover the tools to move forward with courage. This podcast is for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Surviving Roots. I'm back with another solo episode today, sharing my personal experiences and thoughts on rejection. It's a beautiful day in Miami with a wonderful cool breeze, the kind that makes you want to actually step outside and breathe it all in. And I woke up feeling really grateful today. Probably because I just survived a weekend of solo parenting while my husband was off traveling. And listen, while it was definitely more juggling, I got so much quality time with my kids. Honestly, I'm even surprised he even goes on business trips anymore to close deals and make money, because let's be real, it costs more when he leaves me alone with them. We do all the things mommy loves, which means less bike riding in the parks and more fabulous lunch spots, shopping, movies, ice cream. But I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. And right now I'm sitting in my living room in my sweats after a nice hike through Italy on my Peloton with my 8-pound weighted vest. It's my new addiction. And thinking about this episode. I know you can't see me, but I want you to know I'm here, I'm settled, and I'm excited to share this episode with you today in hopes that you feel seen, understood, and validated. Whether this is your story or it's someone you love who needs to hear this, I hope this episode finds the right ears. And I also just had the yummiest breakfast: fried eggs and butter, sliced tomato on sourdough bread with sea salt, and way too many cups of coffee to admit. But I'm fueled up. I'm ready to get into it. So let's begin. What if every rejection you've ever faced wasn't actually rejection at all? What if it was a signpost pointing you in the direction you were always meant to go? Today, I'm sharing personal experiences that changed the way that I see rejection forever. Let's start with the estrangement from my mother. For me, rejection started long before I ever recognized it as rejection. It started with my mother. At 31, I made the hardest decision of my life. I chose estrangement. And let me tell you, that level of rejection, it's deep. It seeps into the cracks of who we are. It tells you lies about yourself. You're unlovable. You're hard to love. You're difficult. You're too much. You're not enough. And for a long time, I believed those lies. I internalized them. I kept trying to be better, as if I were perfect enough, maybe the love would finally come. But here's the thing. You can't build a connection with someone who is completely disconnected from themselves. It's like trying to charge your phone with a dead outlet. You can plug in over and over again, hoping this time it will work. But if the source isn't connected, you're not going to get any power. And after years of trying, I finally had to realize it wasn't me. It was never me. I recently made a reel that brought me to tears because my son was asking me all of these innocent, sweet, and beautiful questions. For example, Mommy, if I get married one day, where will I live? What if I move far away? What if I get sick? Will you still be there for me? And my answer, without hesitation, was always, always, my love. There's no distance that could keep me from my kids, no circumstance that would make me stop wanting to be in their lives, to love them, to show up for them. And I want the best for them. I want to be a part of their joy, their milestones, their struggles, because I love them. And then I think about my own mother. I will never forget the last 3 words my mother said to me. It was winter in New York City, but the chilling temperatures outside were no match to my mother's tone. I was numb as I stood in my friend's East Village apartment. We had just started dating. I was thankful that he couldn't hear the words between us, because I'm pretty sure a fifth date that included an emotional breakdown was a deal breaker. A snotty face is not a kissable one. The more my mother spoke, "It's your fault. You only think about yourself, Cari. I wish I had a daughter who loved me," the harder it became to swallow my shame and keep my eyes dry. I had an audience, and this mama drama wasn't fair to either of us. I can't recall what started this needless argument, but I'll never forget the parts that stuck to me. The parts that both destroyed but woke me. You're not a child anymore, and this is woman to woman. She was right. I was in my early 30s and a woman, but I was still her child. I wasn't a mother, but I understood that no matter the age, a parent always looked at their kid as their children. I didn't realize a child could age out. Age is just a number, not a force of nature. Not just her words, but what they meant showed me what her feelings were capable of towards me. More like incapable. It stabbed me. These fresh wounds allowed abandonment to seep in while my good stuff bled out. The good stuff always got damaged by the toxic shit, doesn't it? Why couldn't abandonment replace guilt or sadness instead of robbing me of the joy and ease I felt in the moment before the phone rang? I regretted answering her call that night. Maybe if I hadn't, our story would have been dramatically different. Even though we spoke weekly on the phone over the years, somehow the conversation always turned into her hardships, her struggles, or why her life was unfair. Every topic somehow got trapped in her emotional prison, and I was her cellmate. I would silence my voice, my needs, and my feelings the best I could, not to risk a dramatic blowout in the list of reasons why I could never understand. The expectation that my mother would call to see how I'm feeling, or to let me know that she's there for me, or that she was ever just sorry. My great expectations of her naturally included affection and unconditional love. I missed the memo. 17 years later, I felt like she never forgave me for choosing me that summer when I was 14, for choosing a happier way. She resented me for ruining her life. If only I had known then what I know now. Her problems existed before I was born. Her life wasn't my responsibility. And her final words to me that evening, which I'm not going to share, but I can't recall what happened next. The taste of my tears or the silence from the call as I hung up. Shockingly, it was those three words that did it. Something clicked. That night in New York City was 15 years ago. That was the last time I ever heard my mother's voice. I mean, that woman. There's so many things we need to look at when it comes to estrangement, like trust, abandonment, and the implications of our choices. Because we become the choices that we make. And yes, there are difficult sacrifices that we must make to save ourselves. So if you're experiencing or have ever experienced estrangement or toxic relationships with people that are supposed to love you unconditionally, I see you. I get you. And when our parents won't change, or someone that's hurting us, that's supposed to love us, any kind of toxic relationship won't change, then we must change how we see them. To let go of the belief that all parents are good and our sense of entitlement that we deserve one of the great ones, so we can begin to heal and be the people that we were born to be, that we want to be. Someone who chose to go through life without seeing me, without knowing if I'm okay, without ever meeting her grandchildren. And I can't comprehend that. I can't wrap my mind around the idea of choosing distance, choosing detachment, choosing not to know. And that's when it hit me. I can't understand her because I am nothing like her. And just like that, I had a choice to heal. Just like she did. She did too. And it's been a long road to healing. It took me years, decades honestly, to understand that rejection wasn't about me, that the love I didn't receive from my mother had nothing to do with my worth. And yet for so long, I tied my worth to everything outside of me. If someone said yes to me, I felt validated. If they said no, I felt like I had failed. And that's a dangerous way to live, because when you are constantly looking for proof of your worth out there, you will always feel like you're falling short. The truth is, my healing truly began. Actually, no. The truth is, my healing didn't truly begin until I stopped performing, until I stopped faking it, until I stopped trying to outrun the pain and finally sat with it. It wasn't until a few years ago, 3 years ago, to be exact, that I turned inward, spoke up, and started really doing the work. And if I could go back and tell my younger self anything, it would be this: start now. Don't wait. Don't waste years trying to prove your worth. You don't have to fake it till you make it, because you'll never make it if you're faking it. We think we're broken, but we're not. We go through life thinking we're broken, that our rejection wounds are just proof of all the ways we don't measure up. But what if we're not broken at all? What if we're just becoming? I look back now and I realize every rejection I ever got was actually guiding me somewhere better. Every no I received protected me from something that wasn't meant for me, even if that means my own mother. That's the thing. That's really one of the hardest rejection wounds that I can even speak for. And again, I'm just like you. I'm a person, trying to figure out life, trying to be the person they want to be, trying to be the mother I never had. And I just want to be, I don't even want to say I want to be happy. I'll take all the emotions now because I know I can handle them. I just want peace, because peace is the prize, people. Peace is something money can't buy. Peace comes from within. Peace is truly being wealthy. And that rejection from my mother, that mother wound, was nothing to do with me. It was the key to my freedom, because I would not be here today living this life, being the woman, being the mother, having this marriage, if I still had that toxicity in my life. I mean, this is my mother, you all. Like, this is the person who gave me life. So to be rejected from that individual, that's something you really got to deal with. But this is rejection from anyone. A friendship, a toxic relationship. Rejection sucks, but the only thing you can do is change your perspective on it, because rejection truly is what if there's a better way? What if there's a different way, so you can create the path to the life that you've always dreamed of? Imagine that each choice is a shovel and you are digging a new path with your choices and your power, leading you to the life you've always dreamed on, a journey full of peace and power. And everyone can say, oh, well, estrangement, how do you know if you made the right choice? Do you know how I know if I made the right choice? Because right when I started my healing journey, that's the interesting thing about life. Right when I said, I've finally accepted that this estrangement will be my lifetime, it's been about 15 years I've been estranged from my mother. And about 3 years ago, I've never really spoken about this or actually really told anyone, but 3 years ago, I emailed my mom. I emailed my mom a very neutral, nice email asking if she would ever like to FaceTime and speak with her grandchildren. And I did this not for me. I did this for my children, because my daughter, who's old enough now, she was probably 7 at the time, started asking about where my mom is. And I never want my daughter to think that a relationship can be broken between a mother and daughter, because that's not healthy. It's not normal. But sometimes it has to be when we're left with no choice. And I emailed her, and you know what she said? Nothing. I never got a reply from my mother. I gave her an opportunity to leave the past behind us and to start new, for her to meet these 2 beautiful grandkids that she's their grandmother to, and she never responded to me. It gets better. So then 2 years ago, so I'm about a year into my healing journey, and I swear it's like God, the universe, whatever you believe, really likes to test you to see if you really believe you're worth the life that you dreamed of. My brother, I guess, got involved because he even overheard my kids asking about their grandmother, his mother. And so he called her and he talked to her and he said how this stuff all has to end, that Cari has reached out to you. She would like for you to FaceTime and let the kids see you and talk to you. And can you believe on Thanksgiving Day 2 years ago, I got a text and I looked down at my phone screen and it said mom. And I looked at my husband and I said, Mom, whose mom is this? Because it had already been like 13 years, you guys, since I'd ever spoken to my mother. And it was my mother. And she wrote me this message. And at first I was like, wow, maybe possibly she's changed. This seems like a very nice, neutral message coming from somebody who was excited that I was looking forward to having her FaceTime with her grandkids. That one text message over a 3-day period turned into absolute chaos. Now, I didn't respond in any rude way. I know what my mother is about. I know how she works, and I know not what to say and what to say. And within 24 hours, the texts that I were receiving were the exact same words from our very last conversation 13 years ago at the time. She had not changed. She had not healed. She had not grown. It was the same blame game. Her, the adult, the mother in the relationship, blaming me for things that were never in my control. Because that's at the end of the day, I can't control her choices and her consequences. I was a kid. So there's no responsibility there. I'm not carrying anyone's adult heavy suitcases. And at the end of the day, I'm a mother now, and I'm responsible for my own kids and myself. So it was terrifying to see that she was the exact same person that she's always been and having the exact conversations in the exact same words. And in a way, it broke my heart because I finally knew that relationship was never going to work and that I had to protect my kids just like no one ever protected me growing up. So what did I do? I wished her well. I told her I think healing still needs to take place, and then I wished her well. And then I had compassion for her because it's a shame that she never got to truly live the life that she deserved or to be the woman or the mother that maybe she could have been, and that I really wished her well, and then I prayed for her. And then I blocked her number, and that was 2 years ago. So how do you know if estrangement is the right decision? Listen, you can listen to statistics. You can take advice from friends who have amazing mothers. You can, what religion you believe in your faith can guilt you into forgiveness. But you got one life, and this is your one chance. And sometimes life is hard and you have to make tough decisions, but you have the power to make the choices that you need to make to create the life that you've always dreamt of. So no one can tell you what's right or wrong. You have to listen to your gut because your gut will always tug you in the right direction. So every no I've received protected me from something that wasn't meant for me. Every door that didn't open led me to the ones that were mine to walk through. Rejection isn't rejection. It's protection. It's direction. It's the universe saying, not this way instead. But in order to see that, you have to stop resisting. You have to stop making rejection mean something about you. So here's what I want you to leave with today. Rejection isn't rejection, it's redirection. The no you got, it's just a not yet. The thing you thought that was meant for you, maybe it was actually something that would have held you back. So like my grandma Jo always said, don't worry about that mule going blind. Just keep loading the wagon. Keep going, keep showing up. Keep trusting that everything that is meant for you is still on its way. And please give yourself the same grace, the love, and the encouragement that you would so easily give to others. You deserve it. I love you all. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you next week on Surviving Roots. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Surviving Roots. I hope it gave you something meaningful to carry with you. Let's keep this conversation going. Find me on Instagram at cari.fund, where I'll share more from the show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it. And remember, we are the choices that we make.